Hello guys, welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message, it was sent to us by one of our dear sisters via our email address. Then it was forwarded to me by one of our admins. The message reads like this. Hello, how are you? I am a 49-year-old South African woman. My husband, he is turning 68 years old this year. Me and my husband, we had 4 kids, and out of those 4 kids that God had given us, we are only left with 3 children and our grandchildren. One of our daughter passed away. When my daughter passed away, people just thought that maybe it was due to the COVID-19 that was just affecting everyone. Everyone thought that maybe the COVID-19 had stolen her life. But my brother, what our relatives and some of the people in our community do not know is that there was a lot of things that was going on at that time when our daughter passed away. Even when we went to have her buried, like in those days, it was only a few family members that were allowed to go to the cemetery because they were afraid that people were going to get contaminated after burying someone that was suspected to have died of the COVID virus. The guys that were assisting us with the rituals that we were doing there, they even suspected that there was something that was going on, because there was another traditional healer who had told us that for our daughter's spirit not to rise up and fight against us, we had to take her soil, spit on the soil, then we had to sprinkle the soil on her face whilst we had the coffin opened up. So when we asked those guys that were with us to open up her coffin, they refused because they were afraid of the contamination. But after we had given them some money, that was when they spoke a little bit, then they agreed to have the coffin opened up. We then had the coffin opened up and we did that ritual. Whilst we were performing that ritual, I saw that the guys, they were looking at each other like very funny, because they saw that this was nothing but a ritual that was being performed. So my brother, when our daughter was buried, I then started staying with my grandkids, and right now I am still staying with them. And each and every time when I look at my grandkids, like the one that looks very much like her mother, I just feel that my heart will be breaking into million pieces, because I just think about my daughter, like we had to sacrifice her. If we had sacrificed our daughter for money, maybe it was far much better. But my brother, we sacrificed our daughter for nothing. And I know that a lot of people out there, they love going to those churches whereby the pastors will be performing a lot of fancy miracles, and it is quite exciting. Like the environment, it excites you, because each and every time when you go to church on a Sunday, you keep on expecting another big miracle that the pastor is going to perform. But as for me and my husband, in our case, this has led us into a situation whereby we are living a life full of regret. As for my husband, he keep on saying that if I just die, it is better. Maybe I'll be able to communicate with my daughter again so that I can ask her for her forgiveness. My husband keep on saying that living right now for him, it is just painful. And the situation that happened to me and my husband is that before we had started attending our sister's church, the one that she was going to, that mega church that had the pastor performing a lot of miracles, we used to attend this other church that was in our small community. Me and my husband, we used to attend that church, and it was just a normal Pentecostal South African church that we all know. No big miracles, nothing. It was just a community church whereby we just had the word of God, the true word of God, nothing fancy there. So my sister started telling us that our church, it was quite boring and it was a fake church, because there was no power of God that was being shown to us. But those pastors, they were just preaching the word of God without showing us the true power that God had bestowed upon them. Then in her community, that was when they came, that very powerful pastor, and the news that were going around the community was that this pastor, he had traveled once to this other Western African country, and whilst he was attending the church in that Western African country on that trip, as he was praying, that was when he met God personally, and God instructed him that he had to come to South Africa so that he can heal the sick and bless the poor. So at his church, people were flooding like no man's business, my brother. Each and every Sunday, convoys upon convoys of cars that were always headed for his church because of the big miracles. And my sister, she was also attending that church. Whenever we would pay my sister a visit, then my sister will always talk about the pastor. The pastor was all that she would speak about, and in her house there were pictures upon pictures of that pastor, as well as some bracelets and plenty of t-shirts. Me and my husband, we never understood this because our church, it was not into that. It was just a normal church that preached nothing but the word of God. So my sister kept on giving us a lot of pressure. Then one Sunday, I then said that, you know what my sister is like. She is going to be giving us pressure until we die. So I think that it is far much better that we just go to the church and we just attend a church only once. And my husband, he agreed, but he was very doubtful, and he said that there is no God in that church. Then one Sunday, we then went to that church, and our sister was really happy. But as for my husband, my brother, he still had the doubts. But when we got into the church, when he saw everyone just jumping up and down, enjoying the gospel as well as the praise and worship, I saw my husband joining everyone that was dancing, because my husband, he loved to dance for the Lord. And after church, my husband, as we were headed for our car, then said that indeed I have witnessed that there is a God in this place. And from there on, he kept on saying that the God that he had met in that church had truly touched his heart. That was when we started attending that church. And for a few months, then there was this other night of prophecy that had been advertised for a very long time in that church. So this night of prophecy, each and every person had to pay 5,000 rands, and if you are a couple, you had to pay 8,000 rands. So me and my husband, we ended up paying 8,000 rands. And my brother, here in South Africa, people have money, because on that night of prophecy, there was even a tent which had an overflow, and all of those people, they had paid about 5,000 rands per head. So on this night of prophecy, we were going to have this session with this other Nigerian pastor who had been flown from Nigeria, coming to South Africa specifically for that night of prophecy. When our chance came, me and my husband, we entered into the pastor's office, which was called the Holy of Holies, for in it our pastor, he used to speak with God himself. And that prophet, he was there in the Holy of Holies. When he looked at my husband, that prophet from Nigeria, he started shouting and he started singing, and he was singing that song. I don't know if you know it, that is called Double Double. He was saying that he had seen and he had been showed by God in a vision that God was about to make us into multi-millionaires. He was going to place his blessings double upon our lives. Mind you, my brother, me and my husband at that time, with our few assets that we already had, I can say that we were millionaires, just that we didn't have $1 million in the bank. But during our working years, when we still had the strength of our youth, we had invested into buying of properties and renting those properties, and we were renting them out. This was like our retirement plan. But because of that prophecy, my brother, we ended up losing almost each and everything that we had, because in that church, what was happening, the pastor, each and every time when he would be preaching, he would encourage people to go out there, take out a very huge loan so that you can buy a luxury car. He said that anyone that doesn't have a luxury car in his garage, it means that the person has not experienced the word of God or the blessings of God. He encouraged people to go out there to buy, your Porsches, your Ferraris. People were spending money on luxury items. If you had a normal phone like your Android in that church, people were just considering you to be a nobody. But in that church, if you had a very good and expensive iPhone, then people will say that we can see that God is blessing you. People even used to do this type of greeting whereby when we will be greeting each other, instead of holding hands, you would take out your iPhone. Then we will greet each other using our iPhones. So when we got into that lifestyle, we started investing in those get-rich schemes, and me and my husband, we started losing money left, right, and center. That was when me and my husband went to this other church friend of ours because she was quite successful in all of her ways, but she had recently lost her husband. That was when she started to become very successful. So we went to her because we wanted her to become our financial advisor, since we didn't know much about handling these businesses that we were getting involved in and we were losing a lot of money. We asked her what exactly was she doing. Then she just said that she had gone to this other herbalist and that herbalist had assisted her. My brother, when she told us that she had gone to a herbalist, we rebuked her whilst we were sitting in her living room, and she said that if you ever change your mind, I can take you to that herbalist. But my husband said that he would never do that. He does not want to go to hell. But me and my husband, we went back to our place. But on the day that we touched our savings money, that was when we knew that we were in deep trouble. And I still remember that on the night that we ended up calling that woman who had suggested that she was willing to take us to this herbalist that had assisted her, it was exactly 8 p.m. when my husband and I had been watching the news. That was when we called her. When we called her, we told her that we had decided to go with her to that herbalist. My brother, that woman then gave us the date when she wanted to take us to that herbalist. Then we went there, and when we went to that herbalist, we were told that we were supposed to come back after 3 months, but this was after this traditional healer had given us this other skull that looked like a head of a small monkey, and he told us that we were supposed to go with it to our place and to perform some rituals. And the way that we were supposed to perform these rituals, they were kind of like funny. But this friend of ours, my brother, she encouraged us and she told us that she and her husband, they had been performing those rituals prior to them becoming very successful in their business. So we went back home, but before we were given that skull that looked like the skull of a small monkey, that traditional healer had taken out this other counter book, and in that book we saw that there were a lot of names, names, different surnames, and these surnames, I swear to you that they are from different parts of Southern Africa, showing that this man, he was quite busy. He told us that we had to write our names. I wrote my name, my husband wrote his own name. Then my husband, he was given the task of writing his children names, like our kids that we had together. Then I was given the task of writing the names of all of my grandchildren. So after we had done that, that was when we were given that skull, and that traditional healer said that we had to come back. This was after 3 months, so that by the time that we would return back the skull that was going to give us the start ahead in our business, then he would cancel the names of our kids that we had written in his book. My brother, that was when we were given that ritual. My brother, that was when we were instructed on how to perform that ritual. Me and my husband, we then returned back home. When we returned back home, my brother, when we tried to perform all of these rituals, this was like for almost 3 months when we were still in communication with that traditional healer. We tried as much as we could to perform those rituals. When we saw that we could not perform those rituals, we then tried as well to drive around. What we'll do is that when we will be driving around, then my husband, he would give me that monkey skull and I would throw it somewhere. And after throwing it somewhere, then when we would get back home, we would always find out that this monkey skull, it would find its way back into our bedroom. When we saw that this was what was happening, we then even tried some prophets. These prophets, they were from Zim, but they all failed to remove this monkey skull from our bedroom. One of the guy whom we had hired, who was a Zim guy, this was in 2021, he nearly died in our house. When he came, we gave him the money that he had requested, and when he lifted this other bag in which we were keeping that monkey skull, it seemed as if there was a very powerful force that started beating him up. And I swear to you, my brother, I saw that this man, he was being lifted in the air by a strong force that we could not even see, and there was something that was choking him. After he had collapsed to the ground, his friend was the first one who ran away. Even when he ran out of the house, the dogs chased him and he jumped out of the fence. I never saw a man not being afraid of the electric fence. I think that he was more afraid of the things that he had seen in our bedroom rather than being chased by the dogs and being attacked by the electric fence. When we started experiencing problems, we stopped those daily rituals because we saw that these rituals that we had been instructed to perform by that traditional healer, they were not even working at all. So these rituals that we are instructed to do, we were supposed to do them only for 3 months. But my brother, since that year that we went to take these charms, we have been performing them because we saw that. And another healer who is a local traditional healer, he told us that if we do not perform these rituals, then it means that each and every person that we wrote in that book is going to lose their lives. So we are still performing these rituals. The way that we are performing these rituals is that me and my husband, we leave our house, then we go outside. Usually we go at the back of our yard, and whilst we are going to the back of our yard, we are supposed to remove our clothes one by one and just throwing them onto the pavement. When we have arrived at the back of our yard, I have to sleep on the ground whilst holding that skull, and my husband, he has to get on top of me and he should start making and my husband is supposed to start making love to me. And after, when he is about to produce, he is not supposed to produce inside of me, but I must supposed to lift that skull so that he can produce on top of that skull that I will be holding. So for many years, me and my husband, we have been performing all of these rituals. If we do not perform these rituals, one of my kids, they would call me. It's either my children will get so sick or any of my grandkids, they will get so sick. So these rituals, we were supposed to perform them for only 3 months. Then we were supposed to return that skull back to that traditional healer. But when COVID came, we didn't know what to do anymore. That was when we spoke with our church friend, and she then told us that she didn't even know what to do anymore, because the last message that she had sent to that herbalist was like, what are we supposed to do during this COVID-19? Because on her own rituals that she was given regularly, she is supposed to go and visit that herbalist. So then that herbalist told him that he was rushing back to his country. Our friend told us that this herbalist thought that maybe the world was coming to an end, so he had returned back to his country, because he said that if anything is going to happen to me, it is far much better that it happens to me when I am close to my own relatives. So we are stuck at this moment. We do not even know what to do. This monkey skull, it is getting heavier and heavier by the day. Back in the day, my husband, he was able to lift it up with only one hand. Right now, when he tries to lift that monkey skull, it is very heavy. And for us to blame that friend of ours, that one that we met in church, we do not even know if we should blame her or what, because she also lost her own husband because of these rituals that they were doing. So my brother, me coming here, I do not even know what to do anymore. The way that my daughter died, it is so painful. I do not even want to talk about it. All that I want is for someone to assist me. One healer who was from Zim said that for 60,000 rands, he was willing to help me. But he said that what we have to do when you will be helping us, I have to select one amongst my granddaughters. And after selecting one amongst my granddaughters, then we are supposed to make a ceremony for her so that she can now belong to that tokology. This is the only way that we can survive. But when I look at my granddaughters, I feel so sorry for them, because if we choose anyone amongst them, the one that we would have chosen, she will never be able to have children in her life. And that traditional healer from Zim encouraged us to do it very quickly before our granddaughters will be mature, before they can start dating. Otherwise, you won't be able to assist us. So my brother, we are stuck. We do not know if we should perform another sacrifice, because me and my husband, we are now tired, because each and every time when we have to perform these rituals, we have to go out of our house like mad people, removing our clothes. Then we start making love whilst we will be sleeping on the ground, and when I will be holding that monkey skull. All that we want right now is for someone who can assist us, someone who can give us advice. As for those people who will say you can try to pray, please just stop it. I just want someone who can assist me so that this thing can be removed very quickly. For me to be where I am right now, I got it in church. So I have lost all hope. If it was not for the pressure that was given to me by the people that I used to attend church with, maybe I could be living my life. But because of the pressure that I was given in church, it made me to perform all of these evil rituals. Dear listeners, right there was a message that we received via our email address. Indeed, strange things do happen in this world. Please let us speak with her in the comment section. Strange things do happen. That traditional healer was saying that for 60,000 rands, I can have you sacrifice one of your granddaughters so that she will never be able to have children or to get married in her life. Just imagine selling off the future of your granddaughter for 60,000 rands so that you can just sleep peacefully at night.